That is a game changer. Women form huge consumer markets for goods and services. Without women, majority of businesses in the world today will simply fall down. It is time to move women from being consumers to investors. It is time for women to dominate markets. And on that, we still have much to do. Businesses of women find it difficult to get venture capital financing. The reason is simple. Women account for only 9% of leaders of venture capital funds in Africa. Globally, over 90% of the partners of the largest 100 venture capital funds are men. The economic empowerment of African women is a prerequisite for inclusive economies, for sustainable economic growth. In Africa, women make up more than 50% of economically active population that earn their livelihoods in agriculture. Yet, women constitute a meager 5%, a meager 15% of land use rights and a 1% of land ownership. It is also estimated that the women receive only 5% of agriculture extension services and receive less than 10% of available credit in our financial institutions. African women are entrepreneurial. Women own over 30% of all registered SMEs in Africa. Women account to over 70% of the informal trade within Africa. You just visit any town market. You are seated there at Cooperative University. When I just walk to Karen Crossroads or any border post in Africa or any market, the first 4 people that I will see, that you will see, are women working hard to sell produce and goods. Without any doubt, the success of Africa Continental Free Trade Area will depend on expanding economic, business, and trade opportunities for women. If you can arrest these inequalities, if we can arrest these inequalities in cooperatives, in SMEs, in our governments, in our countries, and put women on equal footing with men, starting in our households, our wives, our spouses, our boyfriends, our girlfriends, our daughters, our sisters, our aunties, we know that we can unlock human potential on a transformational scale. Just by empowering women farmers with the same access to land, new technologies, and capital as men, we can increase crop yields by as much as 30% and feed an additional 150 million people on the continent. And if you do the ratios, if we can increase the food yields even in Kenya by 30%, you can be able to triangulate easily to see how many number of people we'll be able to feed. And when we talk about food security, that is inclusive economy, because rural poor, urban poor will have something on their table. Today, the majority of women in Africa are self-employed in low growth sectors and or in low skilled jobs, notably agriculture, and offer little prospects of generating higher incomes. This is as a result of a variety of factors, such as poor access to quality education and health services, and an insufficient access to finance for the female of this continent. But this is not the full picture. There are many examples of women that are excelling in private sector, in public sector, and that gives rise to hope. Yet, if decisive participation of women in more income generating activities such as trade and appropriate technology that is now proven, there are areas such as industry, banking, real estate where women are left out. Entrepreneurship and any other form of economic responsibility are hardly accessible or sometimes even forbidden to women in many places, in many countries. It is widely recognized today that investing in women represents one of the largest opportunities to pursue inclusive growth. I repeat, investing in women represents one of the largest opportunities to pursue Africa's, Kenya's, Uganda's, Tanzania, Egypt, South Africa, Equatorial Guinea, Morocco's inclusive growth agenda. Change is not coming about as fast as we hope. We don't want women to be seen as the majority in numbers, majority only in the second economy. We want to see women emerging in great numbers in non-traditional sectors. Over the decades, we have seen women across Africa stepping up to the challenge of leadership in both public and private sector. Of course, the latest story is the story of Tanzania. The latest story is the story of Kenya in the judiciary. The latest story is the story of Rwanda, where 50% of the cabinet is made of female. More than 60% of parliamentarians is made up of female. While impressive strides have been made in this space, Africa and our countries, our institutions must capitalize on the human capital of women by number alone, make a large pool of potential talent needed to drive the continent forward. We know that the biggest resource in any institution is people. When I was at Olivado as the group Africa COO, I had more than 1,000 staff. I was leading more than 1,000 staff. And you could see the meticulous way, the authenticity of female staff is more than us, men's staff. And so we must capitalize on that pool of more than 50% of us. Of course, certain challenges abound that have held women back, but these challenges can be further reduced by having targeted mentorship, starting from those small units, the farmer groups, the cooperatives, us institutions being deliberate in our curricula, access to education and other initiatives, the foundations, the scholarships, investing into this. Yes, we can pause and say, okay, if female makes part of inclusive economies, then male will be left forward. But we have had decades of investments where the male gender has been invested and has had a pedestal. And therefore, that cannot be an excuse. The number of women in leadership roles is still too low, very low compared to what it could be. And nurturing growth in this arena will benefit both men and women of Africa economies and countries. When industry is booming and the economy is rising, as has been the case in Africa over the past decade, we must ask ourselves, it is rising for who? How will women, men, and children of the continent, this that we love, benefit? The opportunity of a rising continent needs to be seized to take advantage of the demographic dividend, with women using their potential as important contributors and players in African development. The demographic dividend, the women and the youth, and I told you as I started, I was naive. I had not even graduated, but cooperative university gave me an opportunity. It mentored me and it gave me a platform. And 10 years later, I'm supporting the continent in its premier multilateral on the largest ever resources are put together to support women entrepreneurs. And if that is done to the demographic dividend that we talk about as the advantage on our continent, the young women, the young men, and the women themselves, it will fast track inclusivity, it will fast track inclusive economies. And for this to happen, we need to change mindset. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to change our mindset. There's something inherent in us, especially women, that we need to change. Gender equality is not, for a long time, issues to do with gender has been advocated by the women themselves. And they could arrive on stage and men could switch off because they looked at those women as angry, sometimes as bitter, but that is not the case. We must change mindset and stop thinking in terms of our own countries, institutions, communities as enclaves, and take a broad and more holistic view. We have to seize the window of opportunity to trigger change at a larger scale. We are no longer villages. The world is what we call the village. We must think, when we talk about cooperatives, we think not about, yes, counties, but not small counties. We think about country. And as universities, we think together when we are doing our research and disseminating research so that we can trigger change at a larger scale, because the world has become ambiguous. The world problems are complex, ambiguous, and they are volatile. And for us to resolve them, we cannot think about the solutions of the past where you could have simple solutions, but our minds must imagine and be broad enough to be able to change our country and our institutions and our economies in this century. Investing in women means investing in Africans' future. And therefore, why should we invest in women? If women and girls are given equal access to education, land rights, opportunities to enter the job market, the more control of their lives, overall development prospects would improve for all. Also, creating more and better opportunities for women and girls makes good economic sense as it aims at unlocking the potential of every second human being on his planet to participate in and contribute to the economy. We have one man, we have one woman. So every second human being on this continent, in our countries, will be able to be included in the economic opportunities that this planet offers. A research report by Citi shows that if women participate equally in the economy, 12 trillion would be added in our economies by 2025, global economy. There is no doubt, therefore, that gender equality is a matter of basic human right. Inclusivity from the gender angle, inclusive economies from the gender angle, is a matter of basic human right and can also generate huge gains for human development, economic growth, and business. But I'm encouraged. A new generation of African women have decided to prove and impose their capabilities. I mentioned two ladies who came to my initial career life, showing their economic power all across Africa continent. Personally, as I travel, I see women now run many private companies. Governments and all institutions there must put in place policies, regulations that ensure an enabled environment for them to thrive. In universities, must put in place policies, regulation, rules that support female students, that support female lecturers, that support females non-teaching staff to thrive. That is inclusivity. That is inclusive economies. While this new wave of growth is happening throughout the continent, there remains a significant number of women who are yet to realize their potential. The ability to reach this untapped business potential of half of the continent's population will support a more inclusive and sustainable growth. So, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most effective and sustainable ways to invest in women for accelerated growth is to support women entrepreneurship and finance value chain. African economies can grow faster when women are invested in. Evidence show that, and listen to this, friends. Evidence show that women repay 90%, 98% of loans even without collateral. You know those chamas, stable banking? When you go to any bank, when you lend to a woman money, women repay 98%. It's been proven, and you are an academic institution. It's been proven. Men, it's less than 50%. So where is the case? Where should financial institutions lend more? To women, because 98%, they will not have more bad loans. But with all this, the financing gap for women in business in Africa is approximately $42 billion. Out of this, $16 billion is in agriculture. And that is why 5 years ago, President Adesina Akinwumi, the president of the Africa Development Bank, in his first term, established with the bank the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa, a flagship in the bank, unlocking USD $5 billion in the next 5 years, 2021 being year zero to 2026, to women-empowered businesses in Africa. I'm privileged to lead on the partnerships, donors, and special projects of this largest ever effort on our continent to bridge access to finance for women entrepreneurs on the continent. And I look forward to that day when you walk into the villages through this guarantee scheme, through these grants to financial institutions, guarantees to financial institutions, technical assistance, working with central banks and working with governments, Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Gender, where our women in business can work to a bank. They are not asked of collateral, and banks, financial institutions trust in them, and they are included, and their businesses grow, and they employ more, and our economies grow. Investing in women is not just a smart thing to do, like I say. It also makes economic sense. When the income of women rise, household benefits as they reinvest 90% of their income in their families and communities. When women get money, 90% goes back into the home, it goes back into their communities, it goes back into the society. When men get the money, when we get the money, when I get the money, it evaporates out here. When COVID struck, we were sustained by the savings of our women. When we lose jobs, you will find it is a woman who has something saved. The money goes into feeding and providing better nutrition for children, education expenses, and in paying for medical expenses. Greater economic empowerment for women will go a long way. Listen to this, friends. Greater economic empowerment of women will go a long way in reducing stunting of children, stunted growth. Because when women are empowered and invested and they have livelihoods and they have the money, they feed the children. And this gives a greater boost to Africa economies of the future from improved gray matter. When children of mothers who are economically embedded eat well, medically fit, they are healthy, their gray matter, which is the gray matter infrastructure, their brains, their cells, and their health. And therefore, the future is assured. And that is inclusivity. That is inclusive growth. Hence, investing in women creates a multiplier effect in our communities. We must make sure that women are fully economically empowered. President Adesina, our president, and he has been described as the Africa chief optimist, my very top mentor, always says, no bird can fly with one wing. When you go to an airport, when you enter an aeroplane, it has two wings. Even the animals, the birds, when they fly, they have two wings. So when Africa, he says, when Africa achieves full economic empowerment of women, it will fly on with two wings and achieve its best growth rates ever. That is the Africa we want. That is the Africa 2063. That is the Africa Union Agenda 2063, when Africa will fly on both two wings, for men and women, young and old. And that will be inclusivity, inclusive economy. So that we cannot run away with, that we cannot avoid. And to my fellow men, young and old, listen to me very well. Leave our girls alone. Even as you sit there at the universities, leave our girls alone. Marry your age mates. Date your age mates. We can't sacrifice our future on greed, lust, and emotions. And I will repeat to men, fellow men like me, leave our girls alone. Marry your age mates. Date your age mates. We can't sacrifice our future on greed, lust, and emotions. Let the girls study. Let the girls start their careers. Ladies and gentlemen, I must close. Inclusive economies, where women play a significant role, is not just a glass ceiling issue. It is a ceiling of brick and mortar. We must destroy it. We must destroy that brick and mortar with huge bulldozers, huge caterpillars, and all our hands, men and women, young and old, must be on those bulldozers as we destroy this brick and mortar ceiling. Women are bankable. Women's place is anywhere and everywhere where decisions are made. Women's place is anywhere and everywhere where decisions are made to change the world, to change Africa, to change Kenya, to change Cooperative University of Kenya, where all will thrive. This is the math. We were taught all this math when we were born by the same women. 1 + 1 is equal to 2. The 2 is prosperity, is growth. 1 is the men, 50%. Another 1 is the women, 50%. They must come together for 2. Let us support our women to thrive. That is what 21st century demands of us. From where I sit, from where I stand, that is how we will achieve inclusive economies. And that is inclusivity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bernard, and a round of applause on the floor here. Bernard, thank you for sharing with us and authoritatively doing so. And it just leaves me amazed at how much you have achieved in your 10 years of growth in career, and how much knowledge and experience you have gathered, and you can come back and share with us at that level. And you've given us so much statistics and data that we should ponder over for quite some times. And you are challenging us that investing in women creates a multiplier effect. And you have demonstrated that in your discussion. You have indicated that investing in women is investing in the future of Africa. And you have also demonstrated that through the discussion. And really, it leaves us challenged as we go out. There will be a lot we need to do around that. But I will have to allow some very few minutes where members can directly engage with you in form of questions. Very few questions and reactions I don't know if my senior, Prof. Nyamongo could have a comment or two. Prof. Karibu sana.
Yeah, thank you, Wycliffe, and thank you, Bernard, for a very captivating presentation. I am intrigued by your reference to womenomics. Yes, and the fact that you know, if we really focused on this, the global gain will be phenomenal. And you've given data about you know, the fact that women are more committed in terms of repaying the loans. Now, a question then I have is this: what prevents us from then applying a womenomics approach? What prevents us from applying that? What strategies must we roll out? And perhaps if I go to the issue of social norms, how do we then as institutions change, you know, the norms that prevail in society that tend to, you know, push down our women?
Thank you, Prof.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Professor Nyamongo, for that intriguing question. Yes, womenomics is something that we must embrace and we must bring now into our dictionary. My background and of course, what's cooperative in, I came to cooperative having done disaster preparedness and environmental technology, which I happen Professor Oboka taught me in my undergraduate. And then cooperative put me into the cooperative agribusiness space. And so I became an agribusiness finance person up to today. And when you walk to any bank, even the banks that I was in, nobody will tell you that farmers are not allowed here. But when a farmer arrives with gumboots and he's carrying some chicken, you know, bankers may look at him differently. There is systemic challenges in our institutions, even our circles and cooperatives. They don't say women shouldn't borrow here, but they are inherent systemic issues. And so to me, I would challenge Cooperative University College to run their minds on a robust technical assistance program to our circles, our financial institutions, and not do it at Cooperative University, but like you have done it for several years, go to circles and sit with them and wait and see when a female borrower comes in. And listen to some of the questions bankers ask. When a woman comes and she's doing business, you will hear some quote unquote crazy questions being asked. Who is your husband? Who is the man behind? Which man supports you? Because those are just inherent, that any flourishing woman in business is being supported by a man. And therefore, now this banker will automatically start asking questions of collateral, of a title from a man who may not even be in picture, and that denies. And so technical assistance that is inherent, that can be able to support removal of this systemic mindset problems within our bankers in the circles and other financial institutions. And lastly, working with government, the ministry, on policies that can support accountability of circles on the number of money given to financial institutions. And of course, Cooperative University itself being the leader in womenomics in terms of women in leadership at Cooperative University, women who are employed at Cooperative University, and women at the institution as female students. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And I'm looking forward to us at the university working collaboratively with the African Development Bank to really change this narrative at the lender level and at the cooperative level so that we can bring more women into the mainstay of the national economy. So thank you very much. And we look forward to, engaging and taking this discussion further. Thank you,
Professor.
Thank you.
And I look forward to working with you as a FAWA, as the lead on partnerships, having a partnership between AFDB, FAWA, and Cooperative University on cooperatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Wycliffe.
Thank you, Prof. Isaac Nyamongo. And I would have really wished a young scholar here who could have a question, because the journey you have walked and moved from one organization to another, moved from one discipline and charted the direction up to where you are, should be something of great interest to young people who form the majority of the attendants here. I would give 1 second to a good brother here, but you do on a, are you logged in? That is a Nyaga, Frederick Nyaga? Okay. Njogu, are you able to allow Nyaga to speak? Come. Please come. Yes. He will use my facility here. Yes.
We have Ruth, then we have Bisakaya, who also want to ask questions.
May I go ahead, Bernard?
Please do, thank you.
Thank you, my brother. I'm so excited. I couldn't sit from wherever I was. Sorry, when you started speaking, my laptop had a challenge. I missed a few statistics. My name is Frederick Nyaga from Global Communities. I'm the gender technical specialist. And I also engage men in trying to change the social norms so that they can support women in promoting gender equity and equality. So my question is, and I want to thank you for the beautiful presentation. My question is, what are you intending to do as a bank, the African Development Bank, to support organizations that are working with the men and boys to change their mindset so that we can be able to support women cause? Because as you have said, and it was also proven elsewhere, is that, maybe I can remove this so my face can be seen. It has been proven that when, for example, we leave women to fight for a cause, which is only for women, it brings that aspect of us versus them dichotomy. But when we get men on board to fight for the causes for women, it is like us for them. It is not us versus them. So how do you intend to support that cause? And I've been glad even to have a personal follow-up with you to ensure that the organizations that are doing this can be supported to do this in Africa and in Kenya. Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred, and thank you, Professor Oboka, for your question on for young people. So I'll answer the two questions quickly because of time. So I will start with Frederick. Frederick, as a FAWA, once the COVID pandemic eases up, we are starting our country and regional engagements in countries and within the regions. And of course, we envisage to start in East Africa and Kenya because most of our partners are in Kenya. And at that juncture, we'll be bringing, government, private sector, civil society, including yourself, and institutions in the room for such conversations. And I say the year zero for affirmative finance action for women in Africa at the bank is 2021. And so at that juncture, let's have conversations. When we start our country roadshows and our regional country roadshows, we are in Nairobi and wherever we will be in Kenya, we can be in the room together to have these conversations and see how we can bring as many champions. And you know, like AFAWA is financed by the G7 heads of state, led by President Macron, who has been the chairman of the G7 and has put together ambassadors, especially men, who are also, you know, pushing all this. And when we launched AFAWA in 2019, we had, you know, several men start at very senior level, like heads of state, and also women led, the ministers and the first ladies. We want to put these conversations at the doorstep of all actors so that we can be able to move this. Finally, for Professor Oboka, my 10 years of career, and for the young people seated in the room, one, you must have hope inside you that your past cannot define. When I was born in Western Kenya, going to school in Western Kenya, and looking at the future, it's hope that made me to imagine. It's hope. And when you have hope inside you and you start imagining, you start sitting at people who have walked that path before me. Every day, I have robust mentors in my life. Of course, from level to level, I gain mentors throughout, but I don't discard those who started with me or who are with me at middle level and even at this level as a career diplomat, no. But mentorship is very key. But what we need to realize is that hard work doesn't have a replacement. Hard work, on 2nd August, I'll be 33. So for the 32 years, I have just come to realize hard work doesn't have a replacement. Tenacity and character. You must wake up early. You must invest meticulously. You must be deliberate. You must be intentional. When you look at your short term, when you look at your medium term, and when you look at your long term, that will make your story to be attractive to others to invest in you. And so with that, people start investing in you because they see you have clarity of mind on where you're going. So for students who are seated there, and for all of us, we must have character and tenacity. Know that hard work doesn't have a replacement. If you go for a shortcut, you may enjoy it today, but tomorrow maybe you may be in jail or it may not be sustainable. But when you work hard and you sit down with mentors, and finally, in the morning, during the day, and in the evening when you are alone, you close your eyes and look in the clouds, because there is some power that sits above them that always blesses and moves us forward. And when you are blessed, you hold others, you support others. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. May I just allow Bisakaya Timothy to ask a very brief one. Bisakaya, it has to be extremely brief on behalf of the young scholars. Bisakaya, are you there?
Yes, I am there, Prof.
Very brief.
And thank you for this opportunity. I've realized that our great speaker this morning have dwelled much on the youth, on women inclusion in the COP movement. But as a young person, as a young scholar, as a young researcher, I'm much more interested, where is the place of young people in this whole conversation? Yes, I know that women may be young or old, or elderly rather, but my question is, where is the place of young boys? Where is the place of young girls under the age of 35 in this whole conversation?
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tim. I chose to discuss inclusivity and inclusive economies from a gender lens, especially the problem we have in Africa for women. I'm also a young person. You need to realize that Africa is the youngest continent, right? Africa is the youngest continent. We bring the energy, we bring the innovation, we bring the ideas. And we are the people who will give Africa the new tapestry. And therefore, as we sit and ask, where is our place? We must quickly create our own tables, bring on our own chairs, and start creating a narrative, because we are the majority. For a very long time, the youth conversation is more about give us space on that table. Where do you want the old to go? Create a table by yourself.
Expand the table.
And bring your own chairs. And then the old will come because they will be excited with the energy, with the ideas, with the innovation. So it's about standing up above the crowd. Stand out, team yourself, and be seen above the crowd. The old will come to you. But when you continue begging, the beggar always remain on the knees.
A big thank you, Bernard. A big thank you. You really are our ambassador out there. And we always pray for you. We'll always pray for you as you serve the continent and as you serve humanity through the service you are offering at AFDB. Thank you for sparing your time. We know you are very busy. Did you say you are in?
I'm in Dubai now. Yeah.
Okay, okay. We are praying for you. Even when you come back, you will be in our prayers. Thank you, and you have a good day ahead.
Thank you so much, Prof, and thank you, everyone.
Asante.
Yes, Prof. I would wish to ask the presenter, Bernard, to take some time to address some questions that have been asked on the Q&A section. And of course, those that are in chat, for purposes of time, will not be able to answer them live, but I think you can respond to them under the Q&A. Bernard.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay. Bernard, you'll do that for us?
Okay, great, thanks.
Asante. And thank you. I saw you were following even yesterday. It demonstrates a lot of interest you have in us, and we are proud to be associated with you. Now, we are now going to the second, which will be much shorter than what we have had. In this next plenary presentation, I want to invite Monica Chepkrui. Monica Chepkrui represents young scholars by virtue of her age, virtue of her career, which is still in infancy stage, but a young person who is making a lot of efforts and raring to go, taking the challenge. Monica Chepkrui will be presenting her work on capital adequacy requirements and capital efficiency of deposit-taking circles, DTS. Monica, you really are welcome. Monica is a young staff, academic staff at the Cooperative University of Kenya, and we are proud to see how she is making efforts, and we are sure she is going to be one of the greatest researchers in cooperative areas, and will make very significant contribution to growth of cooperative in the country and in the world. You are welcome, Monica. Karibu sana. We clap for Monica as she comes on.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Okay, let me share my PowerPoint presentation. Okay. As you have heard, my name is Monica Chepkirui, and I'm going to present a paper on capital adequacy requirements and capital efficiency of deposit-taking circles, deposit-taking savings and credit cooperative societies in Kenya.
Monica, sorry to interject. Can you please put presenter mode down there for the PowerPoint so that...
Okay.
Next. The
next one.
This.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. The presentation outline I'll be covering on the introduction or the background of the study. We have the objectives, the theories touching on this study. We have the study methodology. We have the key findings of the results and discussions of the study. we have the conclusions and the key recommendations of this particular study. On the background of the study, we know that in the recent years, we have noted a significant growth of cooperative societies dominating the socio-economic development agenda all over the world. We have the savings and credit cooperative societies, which are commonly referred to as SACCOs. And these have emerged as one of the rapidly growing sector of the cooperative societies. In as much as these particular SACCOs have really grown, they do not gain much recognition in the developed countries, but they have proven to be key pillars of economic growth and national and household empowerment in the third world countries. Current data, we can see that indicates that as of 2019, cooperative societies mobilized estimated savings of $2.2 trillion in terms of savings, an asset base of $2.6 trillion, and also $1.9 trillion as the loan portfolio. Locally here in Kenya, Kenya is known of a long history of cooperatives development, which has really contributed to the general economy of the country. And they play a key role in mobilizations of the internal savings, which is accounting to around 43% in terms of GDP. Similarly, the SACCO sector in Kenya has really also grown rapidly, which has now become a key part of the financial system. And we can see that the continued growth and influence of this particular SACCO sector on the financial and the monetary institutions over the years came with a number of challenges, which could not be addressed sufficiently within the provisions of the Cooperative Societies Act. Hence, there was a need of developing specific regulations which will govern and regulate those SACCOs. This now led to drafting of SACCO-specific legislations, which led to the development of what we call the prudential regulations for all the deposit-taking SACCOs in Kenya. And the underlying aspect of any regulation is capital requirements. And SACCOs, just like any other business entities, they are facing a number of risks, which are having some negative impacts on their operations. They can be facing risks such as maybe competition risk, credit risk, operational risk, and also we have this current, the COVID, which is an issue which is affecting almost all the institutions. So these particular SACCOs, they can face a number of variety of risks, which will have some negative impacts on the operations, which is now, it is really therefore for these particular SACCOs to be well capitalized to ensure that they overcome this particular risk which they are facing on their day-to-day operations. And according to SASTRA 2010, deposit-taking SACCOs were mandated to hold a core capital which is amounting to Kenya shillings 10 million. We have the capital adequacy ratios of core capital to total assets at 10%, core capital to total deposits at 8%, and institutional capital to total assets at 8%. And we find that the main objective of these SACCOs, which specifically on the deposit-taking SACCOs, is to maximize on the members' welfare. And this will only be achieved if the sector is more efficient. This is which guided the background of this particular study. And the research issue, the research problem, from the background, we have seen that the key objective of regulation is to safeguard the members' deposits and enhance resilience of the sector. However, we'll find that as this particular deposit-taking SACCOs pursue in assuring safety of the members' deposits and maintaining resilience of the deposit-taking SACCOs, they are also facing challenges in maximizing, ensuring that they maximize on their efficiency. Hence, the focus of this particular study is to examine the impact of the capital adequacy requirements on the efficiency of the SACCO operations. We have the research objectives. This particular study focuses on 2 objectives. That is, the first one is to evaluate on the capital efficiency of deposit-taking circles in Kenya. 2 is to establish the effect of capital adequacy requirements on capital efficiency of deposit-taking circles in Kenya. And the research methodology which we employed for this particular study is that the study was guided by positivism research philosophy, where we adapted the correlation research design. And the target population comprised of all the deposit-taking circles in Kenya, that is between the year 2014 to 2018. And as such, the sensor sampling technique was employed because you see regulation is an issue which is affecting all the deposit-taking circles in Kenya. We collected secondary data from the annual financial statements, which we from SASRA. And data analysis was undertaken in 2 stages. In the first stage, we used data envelopment analysis to evaluate the efficiency of these deposit-taking circles. And we can see this is the model which guided us in evaluating the capital efficiency of these deposit-taking circles. And in the second stage, we employed multiple regression relationship to regress the relationship between capital adequacy requirements and capital efficiency of deposit-taking circles in Kenya. So data analysis was done in 2 stages, that is using the data envelopment analysis and the multiple regression analysis. And on the part of the data analysis and results, remember we said our first objective was to evaluate on the capital efficiency of deposit-taking circles in Kenya. And here we were employing the data envelopment analysis. And normally for this data envelopment analysis, it normally generates efficiency scores ranging from 0 to 1. But for this particular study, we can see that our efficiency scores are ranging from 0.22 to 1. This means that you can see, this means that the least efficient circle has an efficiency score of 0.22, which means that it has an improvement gap of around 0.78. And also we can see that our mean efficiency is 0.51. When we have a mean efficiency of 0.51, this means that this particular deposit-taking circles, they have to focus on reducing their inputs by 49% for them to attain the maximum efficiency of 100%. And the second objective was to determine on the relationship between capital adequacy requirements and capital efficiency of deposit-taking circles. And here we were using, we employed the multiple regression model. And these are the results of this particular model, where here we had our dependent variable being the efficiency. We had the core capital being the other variables. We have core capital to total assets. We have core capital to total deposits. We have institutional capital to total assets. And lastly, we have our dummy variable, which is assuming 1 for those deposit-taking circles achieving a compliance of Kenya shillings 10 million, and 0 for those deposit-taking circles not meeting the required core capital of Kenya shillings 10 million. And from this particular model, we found 2 major findings, where the first finding was that the relationship between core capital to total assets and earned efficiency of deposit-taking circles had a negative but significant relationship. Normally, these deposit-taking circles are supposed to have a core capital to total assets. They have to maintain a core capital to total assets ratio of 10%. But here you can see that we are getting a negative but a significant relationship. So this means that the deposit-taking circles that were maintaining the capital ratio of 10% or more were less efficient than their than those who are complying with this particular ratio. This means also in this particular case, it could mean that this particular deposit taking circles could be constrained in such a way that this particular deposit taking circles could be locking up savings, which could have been used, which could have been lent out to be used in the different investment purposes. And in this case, it means that this deposit taking circles, and in this case, it means that these deposit taking circles are lending just a minute. Sorry. And in this case, it could mean that these deposit taking circles could be lending less. They could be charging more for loans, and also they could be paying less on their deposits as a way of maintaining the acceptable return on the larger capital base that is they are supposed to maintain to meet that particular ratio of 10%. And we can now say that maintaining these high capital ratios are likely to be associated with lower returns, which negatively influences the efficiency of this particular deposit taking circles. On the major finding number 2, we found that the core capital dummy was found to have a negative but not significant relationship on this particular relationship. And normally also this particular deposit taking circles are supposed to maintain a core capital of Kenya shillings 10 million or more. But we can see that from our findings, despite not being significant, the deposit taking circles which achieved compliance by maintaining a core capital of Kenya shillings 10 million and above were less efficient compared to those deposit taking circles not meeting the prescribed threshold of 10 million and above. So we can say that achieving this compliance, meeting this requirement of Kenya shillings 10 million and above does not really improve the efficiency of this particular deposit taking circles. Because we can say that imposing these strict capital regulations on these deposit taking circles could hinder their ability to use their inputs in optimal proportions to allocate their scarce inputs in situations that would generate higher returns. These strict capital regulations hinder the transformation of inputs to outputs, and it means that these particular deposit taking circles are really struggling to transform their inputs to outputs when they are subjected to these strict capital regulations. Also, these strict capital regulations comes with a cost on the economy, as these particular deposit taking circles will try to pass this cost to their members in terms of the high cost of funding, the different products which these cooperative members will be receiving. Another implication from the finding is that when these deposit taking circles achieve this compliance of they have met this requirement of Kenya shillings 10 million and above, it means that they'll be holding too much cash, which imply inefficient utilizations of resources. And it increases the liquidity of these particular deposit taking circles. And when we have excess liquidity, it means that these particular circles will be having funds with idle funds with no returns, and also it will also increase the cost of retaining those funds within the cooperative societies. And this therefore will lower the efficiency by not availing the funds necessary for efficient service provision in the sector. Therefore, we can say now that achieving compliance could be counterproductive, and it lowers the efficiency of these deposit taking circles. Inasmuch we can see that inasmuch as this particular deposit taking circles pursue to assure the safety of the members' deposits, and also in as much as they pursue to ensure that the circle sector is resilient, they must also focus on achieving the maximum efficiency to their cooperative members. And on conclusions, we can say that there's a negative significant relationship between core capital to total assets. And also the core capital dummy had a negative but insignificant relationship on the relationship. So what can we recommend to the SACCO? We can now recommend that the study recommends that the regulator to re-examine the capital adequacy requirements with the goal of establishing the most optimal levels that guarantees on the members' safety, on the safety of the members' deposits, and enhancing the resilience of the SACCOs while optimizing on their efficiency. And that is it. Thank you.
A big thank you, Monica, for very clear presentation, and a clap for Monica here. A big thank you, members. And coming just after a presentation by Bernard, asking that we give a platform to our young ladies. So this is about it. And we know that Monica is stepping on the global platform where she can be heard and present her contribution in this area. So, so thank you so much, Monica, for the work and your thoughts and your recommendation. And I thought I heard very well. You are asking questions about capital adequacy requirement. Does it really make these DTS resilient? And I think it's an important question that is relevant going into the future. I think there are some questions on the question answer. You will be able to deal with that. I don't know if a member has a comment to make towards what Monica has presented. One or two comments or a question, then we'll close the session to proceed to the other areas. So if there is no question, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Monica. That was a very, very organized presentation. And my question is technical rather than the substance is quite satisfactory. But you have a very heavy multiple regression equation. And I know at this point, probably we'll need to advise and review towards publication. One of the things I want you to clarify is whether you considered testing some regression assumptions. If you did, then which ones did you do? Maybe as you put your, just organize your paper for review, we will need maybe a paragraph or so on how you did which regression assumptions did you test, and did you find them appropriate? Linearity, multicollinearity, and others that are generally required. Maybe you can comment about that.
Thank you, Dr. Rio. So on this part of the assumptions of the regression, we used a number. I used a number of diagnostic tests. The first one, we had normality test, which was used to determine there was normal distribution of the data. We had heteroscedasticity, where we were using the pattern test, we had autocorrelation test, and also we had the linearity test, where we use the Pearson correlation test.
Members,
Professor Nyamongo's mic is on, Professor Oboka, so we could allow him to ask a question maybe or comment.
Okay,
Yeah.
Prof Nyamongo, karibu sana.
I think, yeah, thank you. There's always a danger of leaving your mic on, so I'll be having it in the off, status. Yes, but I just want to thank Monica for that presentation. And I couldn't help but, try to also link it to the earlier presenter, the issue of loans, and particularly the questions that women have to face when, seeking for loans. And this has to do with the issues of, security for the loan that is being given or that is being applied for. In the cooperatives, it might be that, we're using our membership and our social networks within that cooperative to get, those of us who are members to give security that, the loan will be repaid. But the question is much more difficult for women who go to commercial banks, where, you require a lot more than simply somebody coming to say, yes, I'm willing to take the risk. So this is an issue that, of course, we need to interrogate further and perhaps try to position ourselves as a university in this area to be able to respond to some of these issues as were identified earlier by Bernard, and see how we can change the narrative at that level. Yeah, I think for me, that is all I would say at this point in time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Prof. And your comment is very important in giving some other dimensions that we need to explore. And Monica, now stepping on the platform of researchers at this level, be encouraged to explore issues, and your presentation is good and highly appreciated. Now, members, we will have a break, 15 minutes break. You will have your tea. Thereafter, you will go into your breakout rooms, as was yesterday. That those who are here and those who are following online, after the 15 minutes, the breakout sessions relevant to the thematic areas you are interested in and the Young Scholars Initiative will be open for you to join. Thank you for having been part of this plenary session, and we look forward again to converge here and have you in the closing plenary session on way forward and closing ceremony. So as it will be as it is on the program, following the timelines strictly.